Here are some basics of how I teach and practice Kundalini Yoga. I teach a modern style that comes from my teacher, Gloria Latham. This means that the practice has been adapted from its traditional roots that Yogi Bhajan brought to the West in the 50s and 60s. The reason why it's been adapted is to meet the needs of what's in the world here and now. We are always evolving, and as such, our practice evolves. I want to give you some fundamentals of the practice to help you experience Kundalini. The first is that we generally practice with our eyes closed. That means that the journey is inward, and it's less about what we look like and more about what we feel. The second is that we do repetitive movement for time. Time is the secret ingredient because a lot of us, we can do something for a short amount of time. The moment you lengthen that space, it brings us into a place of discomfort, and that is where we learn and grow. That discomfort takes us to our edges, and from there we're able to break through, transcend, find new ways of being, higher levels of consciousness. Whatever it is that we are seeking, we find that in that place of discomfort. Now, pain is always a sign to modify or stop or change something. The beautiful thing about Kundalini Yoga in comparison to other practices like Ashtanga or flow is that the body quickly tells you when it is in pain and it needs to have some release. So for example, in Kundalini, we do a lot of squats. If that's hard on your knees, simply don't squat so much. Even micro movements count absolutely. If our arms are overhead and your shoulder starts to be painful, simply bend the elbows. Generally, when we soften, we ease out that pain and then we can re-engage with the practice. It can literally be that simple. And remember, if you're breathing, you're doing yoga. Now, speaking of breath, we generally inhale and exhale through our nose, and it is a noisy breath, so it sounds like this. It's got some texture and it's alive, so I invite you to bring some sound to your breath. We also use breath of fire, which is a very cleansing, very cleansing, healing breath. And it's a pumping action at the base of the navel where the focus is on the exhale. Okay, so it looks like this. Okay, so every time the exhale, the belly button draws in quickly toward the spine, and then trust that the inhale will come naturally. Kundalini Yoga is an emotional practice. If you find yourself crying or angry or experiencing any kind of emotion, know that that is part of this work. The last thing I'll share with you is that we use mantra. Mantra is simply repetitive words, generally in Sanskrit, that we do for time to accelerate the practice, get out of our heads, and into our experience. Generally, the mantras are very positive, they're uplifting, they focus on new ways of being, creativity, energy, and you can choose to say them aloud, whisper them, listen to them. The choice is always yours. So those are some basics of Kundalini Yoga. I look forward to practicing with you.